little bit of story here for you. When you get into a real estate lawsuit, you end up getting a lot of after-the-fact data. So you get like a forensics engineer, and check out realestateindustrywhistleblower.com for more about forensics engineers and how that all works. But I had an experience where there was forensics engineers, there were several of them, and all of these reports. And they're over 2 years into the lawsuit and the fighting, the seller's side, the seller had committed obvious fraud and lied, the realtor lied, it was a big mess. And the seller and their attorney, and all his wisdom, hired a real estate inspector, home inspector, to come and inspect the home, right? 2.5 years into it, the fraud had already been committed, the house was, damaged, there was all this stuff going on, and the house had changed. But they hired a home inspector to to tell them what they would have saw 2.5 years ago, to see if there's any issues with the house. They're not engineers, they're not forensics, they're just home inspectors, okay? So they can't see behind the drywall. Actually, in this particular case, some of the drywall was even opened, right? So they're seeing all this stuff after the fact, and they're pretending what they would have said 2.5 years ago, right? Well, first of all, they didn't catch a lot of the problems that were there, and secondly, real estate attorneys, they just get you into messes. I don't even have good experiences with them knowing what they're doing. But this attorney, let's just call him Jackass for short, gave the forensics engineered reports detailing scientific data of what was wrong with the house. Give these reports to the home inspector before they inspected it to give their objective opinion. True story. There is fraud on every single level of the real estate transaction. There's fraud. They're always doing something to prove the real estate consumer, who in this case was the victim, trying to prove that they were the actual criminal and that they did something wrong. And something this obvious and horrible, this real estate attorney should have lost his license. This is just horrible and despicable. And then he walks around the property and says, I would live here. I mean, engineers, highfalutin engineers from all over the world were here on this particular property, and they created all this data and all of these drawings after the fact, and then they brought in home inspectors that got their education online. I'm not saying they didn't know what they were doing, but I'm saying that this was fraudulent and bad, and I don't necessarily trust home inspections, and you need to find out more before you sign the deal. And check out realestateindustrywhistleblower.com for much, much more on all of these wonderful topics. The real estate industry is the house of cards in a hurricane.